All righty. Well, welcome to today's lesson. It is a beautiful summer day here, and we will get a little learning in and hopefully talk about some important fundamental ideas that perhaps we could connect to our daily life and to our daily living, because ultimately we learn because it's God's Torah. We also learn to be able to live a more godly and purposeful and meaningful life. I just want to start with a short thought that's unrelated to the topic of today, and that is that every morning when we wake up, we start off the day by thanking God for returning our soul to us. And we say the words, Moda ani lefanecha, I thank God, right, who has returned my soul to me, and his faithfulness in me is great. That basically God returned my soul, and he gave me another day. And we conclude by saying his faithfulness in me is great, that God has faith in us, that even though yesterday perhaps I didn't fulfill my mission the way I should have, yesterday I didn't complete my tasks that I should have done for whatever reasons, but he has faith in us and is giving us another opportunity to live up to our potential and of who we really are and be able to truly fulfill our mission in this world. But it goes a little deeper than that, and that is when Hashem tells us, Modani lefanecha, and when Hashem gives us our soul and we say, thank you for returning my soul, I'm not saying thank you for returning soul, a soul, or the soul. I'm thankful for returning my soul. Why? Because when I say I'm thankful for returning my soul, I'm essentially declaring that God, you realize that I'm needed for something. Not only that the world needs something, but the world needs me. And therefore, I have the knowledge now. And now I also have not just the power and the knowledge, but I also have the force behind me. And that is that God has faith in me that today I will fulfill my specific mission that I am given and that I am tasked to do. And this is why we say nishmasi, my neshama, not just any neshama, not just any soul, but specifically my soul. That is the thought on Modani. But now let's move on to today's subject. That was by way of introduction. Today we're going to talk about, I think, a very important question. And today's question has to do with when and where is the ultimate purpose of our actions. In other words, if you plant a tree, you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of me planting this tree? Is it so I should have shade right now? Is it I should have fruit in 3 years from now? Or is it that my grandchildren should have the benefit of all the fruits and the shade that comes from this tree? In other words, when I do something, am I doing it to get immediate, not just satisfaction, but immediate results, immediate rewards for my action? Or am I doing something for the long-term rewards that will come about as a result of my current action? Does that make sense, that question? Let's understand it a little bit different, okay? Do we do things now? Do I invest my time now in a project, or let's say a business or real estate? Do I invest in now to see immediate income coming in, or long-term investments for futuristic income, right? We bought our house. Let's say you bought your house. Did you buy your house because you want to live in it, or do you buy your house because it's going to have the market's going to go up and you're going to have more income when you sell it, or the price is going to go up and it'll be more valuable later on. And so there's not one right answer necessarily. Both of them can be a correct answer. There's different ways to look at an investment. Do we invest something for immediate results, immediate cash, or for futuristic results? The same question also applies to how we do our mitzvahs. When we do a mitzvah, are we expecting an immediate reward, or is it a long-term investment and the rewards are going to come at a later date? According to the Kabbalists, and according to our understanding of the reading of the Torah, the reward from a person's actions are given to the person in the world to come. Okay? But then we have another verse that indicates that the reward for a person is actually right now. The fact that you're given the opportunity to do a mitzvah, that itself is the reward. Schar mitzvah mitzvah. The reward for the mitzvah is the fact that I can do the mitzvah itself. That itself is the reward. How lucky I am to be able to bring coffee to the king. Now, we're not talking about coffee. That's a silly thing. But how lucky we are to fulfill the will and the commandment of the king. That itself is a reward. So let's understand is it now, future, what is going on over here. Also, we know that as a Jew, we have a firm belief in the coming of the Mashiach, right? That the Messiah is going to come. It's going to be a time of peace and harmony in the world. And this time is ushered in through our actions, through our daily actions today. The more good we do, we are bringing and ushering in this time of redemption in the times of blessings, or the times of the Messianic era. Does that mean then that all my work I'm doing now is not for now? It's really only to usher in the coming of the Mashiach, which is the ultimate reward for everything I'm doing now, right? That's kind of the question. So let's try to understand it this way. My actions today certainly are making the world a better place. Is that the reward, or is that a sub-reward of the ultimate reward? Right? So certainly, the mitzvah that I do now is making the world a better place. And also, as we just mentioned, when we do a mitzvah, the reward of the mitzvah is the fact that I get the opportunity to do the mitzvah itself. That's another reward. However, the ultimate reward will be with the coming of Mashiach, okay? In the world to come. Now, we have an interesting idea that I believe is very fundamental and very important to mention. And this perhaps highlights a complete idea or different, or unique, or beautiful idea that Judaism talks about, different than any other religion or any other philosophy. And that is that in the 5 books of Moses, there's no mention of the world to come, the coming of Mashiach. While it is a central, fundamental theme in Jewish belief, the 5 books of Moses does not mention it. Why? Because a Jew needs to remember that my mission, my task in this world is for the here and now, to accomplish what I'm given, with opportunities that I have to accomplish my purpose right now. Not what's going to be later, not the reward. I'm not doing things because later on I'm doing things because right now I have a mission, and that is to make this world a better place right at this very moment, sitting right here in front of me. What does this do to me? It motivates me. It inspires me that I can't push things off for tomorrow. I can't push things off for another time. Right now. The whole world exists right now for this moment, for this purpose. This helps us remain present. Today, people don't know what it means to be present. They're always looking for the next thing. What am I doing next? Right? You ever had kids at home? Or when you were a kid, you remember, you always ask your parents, what's next? What's next? Right now we're eating dinner. Let's eat dinner. Why do we think what's going to happen after dinner? Right? Right now. But we live in a world where everything is, what's the next thing we're doing? Even while we're talking to someone, we're looking at our phone about something else that's happening somewhere else. What do you mean? You're right here. Talk to the person in front of you. That's it. So the Torah says, it doesn't talk about the world to come. It talks about the right now. The most important thing is right now. At the same time, though, it also talks about the world to come. Not the 5 books of Moses, but the prophets, the writings, the Talmud has much discussion about the coming of Mashiach, what's going to happen in the futuristic time. Now, I'm using the term future, but it's not the future. It's actually immediate future, not really future. It's right now, and it should be right now. So how do we kind of connect these two ideas? That Judaism is all about the here and now. The purpose of creation is for the right now, but we also have this idea that we are working towards something greater, something bigger, the time of the world to come, the coming of Mashiach. And the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chabad movement, in the Tanya, which they are studying now, chapter 36, he says like this: what is really going to happen with the coming of the Messiah? What is it that we're waiting for, that we are yearning for, that we pray for 3 times a day? What exactly is it? And we are essentially yearning for a connection to God in a way that is revealed to each and every one of us. Meaning to say, sometimes now we feel that our connection to God is in a masked way. It's a hidden way. We don't see God. We don't feel God, right? We believe there's a God, but sometimes it's like a distant idea, but it's not like right there in front of us. So what is the idea that he's saying here? Is that the concept of Mashiach is not necessarily to be seen as a foreign thing, something's going to happen in the world to come, in the future, later on, but it's something that actually we can experience right now, this revealed aspect of God. In fact, there were great sages throughout the history of the Jewish people who lived in a messianic way of living, meaning to say that they experienced godliness in such a revealed manner, it was as if they saw in front of their eyes right there, sitting and studying with God. We try to reach that point. We try to achieve such a revealed way of living that God is right there in front of us. You can feel it, it's tangible. In fact, the story is told of Reb Mendel Haradak, that someone came running to him and saying, hey, did you hear? Mashiach is coming. Mashiach has come. Mashiach is here. He was living in Israel at the time, so he opened up his window and he sniffed the ear and he closed the window. He says, no, Mashiach didn't come. So what do you mean? First of all, how do you know by sniffing the ear? Second of all, why do you have to open the window? If Mashiach didn't come inside this room also. And so he said, in this room, we are already experiencing the revelation of the time of Mashiach. How can we live a life of experiencing the revelation of the time of Mashiach when we live in a manner that is up to par with what God expects of us? In a kind, happy, committed manner, we are then living a messianic way of life. Yet, that is the ultimate. But before we reach the ultimate, we have to understand what is the purpose of why God created the world. And that is, he created the world for the here and now. For us to take this world that we live in, reveal what is hidden deep inside of it, and bring it out to the open. But how can we do it if we live in a world of chaos, of darkness, of hardships, and of challenges? How can we live in a world that also ushers in this time of the Mashiach that we're talking about? Now, the Rebbe says we have another question. And the question is like this. Why did God create the world? You created the world for one simple reason. Because, well, it's a simple reason, but it's a very deep reason. It's a Kabbalistic reason. I'm going to say the Kabbalistic words, and then I'll try to explain it. You created the world because the light could not fit into the vessels. Okay? When God first created the world, God is the epitome of light. God wanted to squeeze all that light into a world, vessels, a container. What happened was the light couldn't fit into the container broke. There was the breaking of the vessels, as the Kabbalists call it, or shvirat hakelim, the breaking of the vessels. What did God do? God saw, I cannot keep my light with its existing intensity, strong, powerful. I have to diminish my light, or I have to cover over my light, so the vessels are not getting the intense light, they're only getting a ray of the light, or a shade of the light. Okay? And so God made a world where the light of God is hidden. It's not revealed, right? It is a world where we experience God, but only through many veils and many screens and many contractions. There is a God, and we can feel it, but not in its full intensity. We can feel it and see it in a hidden way. And so, when God created this world in this manner of contracting the light, so how could it be, the Alter Rebbe asks the question, that we are praying and we are doing everything we can to usher in a time where there will be revealed light in the world when we can't handle that light? Get it? Right? Get the question? Very simple question. Makes sense. We are saying that, we're asking for the coming of Mashiach, where we're going to see God's light in revealed manner. But that light, we can't handle it. This is why he created the world with all these contractions. So what are we trying to accomplish? We want to go back to a place, we're going to have these huge flashlights shining in our eyes, and we're not going to be able to see anything. Right? Imagine you go to, I don't know, a stadium and these lights blind you. What benefit are those lights? It's not helping you. It has to be a light that is contained in a way that we can enjoy the light. So what does it mean then that we are praying and we're doing everything we can to bring the light of godliness in a revealed manner? With the coming of Mashiach, we won't be able to handle it. And how do we know we can't handle it? Because God created the world in such a manner where he has to conceal his light in order for us to be able to survive. So therefore, Alter Rebbe says like this, that God gave us a gift, and this gift is called the Torah. This gift of the Torah is called by two words, oz v'koach, strength and vigor. The Torah gives us might, gives us power, gives us energy and vitality. The word of Hashem, when we study it and internalize it and infuse it into everything that we come in contact with, we are beginning to reveal God's light into the entire existence of who we come in contact with. In fact, when God gave us a Torah on Mount Sinai, we already experienced a me'ain, a similar experience that we will experience with the coming of Mashiach. At the time, we weren't prepared for it. We hadn't yet studied the Torah, so we couldn't appreciate the light. This is why we say, God, don't say it anymore. Moses, you tell us the word of God. We can't handle this anymore, right? However, once we learn the Torah and we internalize the words, we are refining our inner selves, we're refining our souls, we're refining our bodies. Then now we can handle the light of godliness in the most intense, revealed manner possible. And so through us studying the Torah, what is the Torah? The Torah is the word of God. through us studying the Word of God every day, through us internalizing it, through us meditating over it, through us bringing it down to a earthly level where we can relate it to our daily activities, we are then not only fulfilling God's will, but we are also through this preparing the world to be able to handle the ultimate light of God without any concealments. And this now helps us understand our earlier question. The earlier question was, are we doing whatever we're doing for the reward, for the immediate reward, or for the ultimate reward? And the answer is, it's really one and the same. Because when we do something for now we are revealing godliness in this way that is the ultimate reward. So right now is a reward, and this is also the ultimate reward. Not a contradiction. However, let's not be dishonest, and let's face the facts that when we walk in the street, I don't see godliness in a revealed manner. I don't see holiness out in the open. I don't see goodness floating around. Unfortunately, we turn on the news, we see just the opposite. However, this all happens when we surround ourselves in a world of chaos, in a world of untruths. But when we delve into the world of truth, when we spend our time studying the Torah, as we're talking like we're doing right now, when we are spending our time being engrossed and involved in this holy discussion of the words of Torah, right now we are living in this bubble of holiness, of light, of intense light. So if we walk outside and we see something not good, what should we do? We have to walk outside with words of Torah on our lips, to walk outside with wearing the glasses, the lenses of holiness. Talking about glasses, that my cousin, or not my cousin, a distant cousin, or my great grandfather's first cousin, so a distant cousin of mine, but a relative, distant relative. He came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he was complaining to the Rebbe that life is difficult, life is challenging, and earning a living, and with the family and everything. The Rebbe says it's time for you to change your glasses. Thus, we have to sometimes put on a new set of lenses and look at the world through different eyes. And that is what we're saying now. We have to put on the eyes of the Torah. And when we put on the eyes of the Torah, and we look through these lenses of the Torah, we see the world in a completely different manner. We see people in a different manner. We see people in a more inspired manner, because we're looking at it from the perspective of the words of God. Not from my perspective, but from this perspective of the Torah. And when we look at it through that perspective, everything changes. This is essentially concludes chapter 36 in the Tanya. I want to talk now about an upcoming date on the Jewish calendar, and that is tonight. We're celebrating on the Jewish calendar the 12th day of Tammuz. Today is the 11th day. Tonight's the 12th day of Tammuz. On the 12th day of Tammuz, we celebrate the birthday of the previous Chabad Rebbe. But it's not only his birthday, it is also the anniversary when he was released from prison. The previous Rebbe was was arrested and was sent to the prison in St. Petersburg and Leningrad in Russia. And he was sentenced to a very harsh sentence. Through international pressure, the sentence was commuted to 3 years of hard labor, and he was sent to the city of Kostroma. A few weeks after he was sent, they ultimately freed him completely, And this happened in 1927. And the previous Rebbe, on the 12th day of Tammuz, was freed from prison. It was Shabbos, so he didn't leave on Shabbos. On the 13th day of Tammuz, he left Kasserma to his ultimate freedom. So I want to share a story that happened with this Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, the previous Rebbe, when he was a young boy, maybe 10 or 11 years old. And I read the story in his memoirs, and he says a story like this. And when he was a young boy, he would be encouraged by his father and his grandfather and his grandmother to study the words of the Mishnah by heart. When I was a kid, my parents encouraged me to do the same thing, study words of Torah by heart. This way, whenever you're bored, when you're on the train or you're walking the street, you can say words of Torah. And so he would do this. And whenever he studied Mishnah by heart, his father would give him some money for a Mishnah, 10 cents, 5 cents, 25 cents, whatever the deal was, however much money you got for per line or per Mishnah, per page, whatever it was. And at one point, he says he accumulated $30 from all the Mishnahs that he learned by heart, Mishnayos. And his father told him that he should divide the money up into different piles, and he helped him be financially responsible. What does it mean, financially responsible? He says, this amount of money you should use to buy books, Jewish books. This amount of money, or this percentage of the money, you should use to help out a fellow Jew. Now, those days, people would go to the market on specific days when the market was open. And everybody over here knows what a market is. So you can, visualize a flea market or something. Everybody brings their wares or think about eBay, but in person, not online, right? You take all your junk and you set up a table or a tent and you sell what you want. And one person's junk is another person's gold, and they'll buy it and they'll resell it somewhere else or whatever. And so the marketplace, all the people would come to the market to buy and sell. But in order to buy, you have to have money. Many Jews are very poor. They didn't have money to buy. And so they would take out a loan the day before marketplace. They would borrow money, buy their goods, and then they would sell it a few days later and bring back the money to pay back the loan. This was the way it worked. Now, if you would take a loan on interest, so your profit margin would be diminished because now you also have to pay the interest. So many Jewish communities, they established what is called a free loan, a gemach, a gemilas chasadim, a organization that gives out things for free, including money. And it's a free loan. You can take money without any interest and you pay it back. That's the way it worked. We have a loan like that. The organization of Phoenix that has a loan like that. It's something every Jewish community should have, a free loan society. Basically, free loan means you lend the money out with interest free, because the Jew is not allowed to take interest and the Jew needs help. That's that. So the Frierdiker Rebbe was instructed by his father to make such a gemach, such a loan society, that if somebody needs help, you'll be able to give them some money. And so this is what happened. He had a steady line of customers that would come to him every day before the marketplace and would come back to him after. His teacher, Reb Nissen, told him that he should write down every transaction, keep a log, and this way someone borrows, he has his name, what day he has to pay it back, and when he paid it back, cross it off, and so on. Now, he wasn't dealing with a lot of money. He had 30 rubles to play around with. Let's say he kept 10 to buy books, $20 to play around with. But for someone who had zero money, $10 is a lot of money. $5 is a lot of money. You could buy a pen for a few pennies and sell it for a profit, right? Or an orange or an apple or whatever it was. And so this Reb David was the previous Rebbe's steady customer. Again, he's only 11 years old, 10, 11 years old at the time. But this guy was about 50 years old, was his steady customer. He would come, take money from him, and then pay him back a few days later. On market day, the previous Rebbe was walking home from school back to his house through the market It's a busy day. There's action. People are buying and selling, yelling. All sorts of stuff's going on. And he sees Reb David with a calf on his shoulders and a sheep in one arm and a basket of fruits and vegetables hanging from his shoulder on the other side. And he sees him walking, and he sees the previous Rebbe, Yosef Yitzchak, and he says, I hope to make a profit from these goods that I bought. I hope now to go and make a profit. All of a sudden, this police officer runs over to Reb David and punches him in the face, and he starts to bleed. So the boy, the Frierdiker Rebbe, couldn't stand to see how this Jewish man, innocent man, is being punched by this police officer. He ran over to the officer and pushed him. The officer was enraged and started to run towards this boy who had the nerve to push him. And so he fought back, and one of the medals that was on this officer's jacket, copper medals, fell off. And so he told another officer, take this boy and bring him to the prison. So the officer grabbed him by his lapel and brought him to prison. And he's thrown into a cell in the prison in the city of Lubavitch. The cell had no windows. The young boy sitting there by himself. He was very scared. But he thinks to himself, he says, I'm happy that I did it to stand up for the dignity of another Jew who was being beaten for no reason. And I'll do it again to save another Jew. I'll be happy to do it again, even if it means that I'm sitting here in this prison cell. But he's sitting there and he says, I have nothing to do. I'm waiting. And so he started to repeat the Mishnayos that he knew by heart, that he learned by heart. He would repeat it. And so he's sitting there and saying the Mishnah. All of a sudden he hears like a grumble, and he got really scared. He thought maybe there's another inmate in the same cell. He didn't know what to think. And so he tried to concentrate even more on the words he was saying and ignore the words around him. He realized it's getting late in the afternoon, so he started to say the afternoon prayers. When he finished, he started to say Mishnah again, and he remembered that actually his friend who he was walking with back from school, Shimon, had purchased a box of matches for his brother, Leib, and he gave it to him to hold. So he actually had a box of matches in his pocket. So he pulls out the box of matches, he strikes the match to see what's this noise and this grumble that's going on the other side of the cell, and he sees that there's a calf that's sitting there. It's tied up, the mouth is muzzled, and its feet and hands are tied, and that's sitting on the side. Okay, that was that. At least now he knows it's not some violent other inmate. It's an animal. He's okay with that, and he continues to say Mishnah. Word spread that this young boy was arrested, and his father was out of town at the time, and so somebody told this boy's uncle named the Razah that he was arrested, and he came and he stood told the police officer that they arrested the nephew. Immediately, the officer felt so bad. He knew the Razah as being a very special holy Jew. Couldn't believe that he arrested this nephew. He opens up the door. He says, you're free to go. I'm so sorry that we arrested you. I didn't realize you related to the Razah. You're free to go. Okay. And when he walks outside, he couldn't believe that all his friends, his classmates, were standing and waiting for him. They couldn't believe what happened. And so he told them everything that happened. That, the officer punched Reb David in the face for no reason. And I stood up for him. And he says, it's very strange because in this cell, there was a cow that was tied up. Fine, that was that. And he went along with his friends. They went back with his friend. In the meantime, there was a little court case going on in this prison that Reb David was being accused for stealing a calf. He had a calf around the shoulders, and he was being accused of stealing this calf. And he stole it from the brother of this officer that punched him. And Reb David said, no, this is the cow that I bought in the marketplace. I had a few dollars that I bought, and I bought this calf in order to sell it somewhere else. And they're going back and forth. All of a sudden, one of the people that was standing and listening to the story that the Frierdiker Rebbe was saying, this boy was saying about seeing the calf in the prison, came running in and saying, wait a second. The calf that this officer is saying that Reb David stole was actually maybe in this prison, and it's in the cell. Everybody couldn't believe it. They opened up the cell door. Sure enough, they saw the calf. And this officer immediately confessed to him stealing the calf, not Reb David. He stole the calf from his brother, and he wanted to accuse David, so he'll have a calf for himself. And he accused David of that, and it was revealed that this is the real thief, and they arrested the officer. He's relieved from his duties anymore. He was fired as a police officer, and David was able to go free with his calf and everything. And this officer was also punished for wrongly accusing David, an innocent man, and hurting him. And the story, so we see that what the previous Rebbe did was the right thing. He was right. David was innocent, and it was wrong for this officer to go and to do it. So when his father came back to town, he told his father the whole story. And his father was very proud of this boy, of what he did, that he stood up for another Jew, regardless of putting himself in danger. He was a young kid. Regardless of putting himself in danger, he did the right thing, standing up for another Jew. But his father said that I want to tell you one more thing. That when you were sitting in that prison cell and you were saying the words of the Mishnah, that is what differentiated you from the cow. If you would have just sat there and twirled your fingers waiting to be freed, right? Or waiting for a trial, you would have been just like the cow. You're sitting in the room and the cow's sitting in the room. There's no difference. So what made a difference between you and the cow? Because you were saying words of Torah. And this is why I'm saying this story. What differentiates us from this bottle is because we are saying words of Torah. What differentiates you from the person sitting next to you on the bus or on the train or standing at the light next to you in the next car over? What differentiates you? Because you are listening to a Torah talk in your car. You're elevating the world around you. You're doing something that is holy while you are walking, while you're driving, while you're sitting. The guy next to you is just filling up space, just eating of the world's resources. While you may be eating for the world's resources, but in order to elevate yourself, you can make the world a better place. So we're not just taking space. We're not just sucking the air out of the world and using its resources, but we are doing something positive with it. And that is the lesson that the Alter Rebbe is telling us. What is our task in this world? Is to utilize every moment that we have to bring the light of godliness into this world. Reveal the holiness. This arrest of the previous Rebbe was the first, when he was 11 years old, the first of his 7 arrests. He was arrested 7 different times. After those times, for teaching Judaism and helping out fellow Jews. And ultimately his 7th arrest, which is when they literally gave him the death sentence. Thank God it was commuted. And ultimately he was freed on tonight, the 12th of Tammuz. And may we indeed merit the ultimate redemption. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good to see you back.
It's good to see you. Good to have the class. And good to see all of you. And let's keep on learning.
Yep.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Deitch.
Thank you.